This presentation was published as part of the Open Educational Resources Archive by the project InclusiveGameLab. InclusiveGameLab is a project that was funded by the German Ministry of Research, Technology and Space and realized by the University of Applied Sciences Cologne and the Department for Youth Media Culture North Rhine-Westphalia. Today we'll talk about making your marketing more accessible. This is especially important when promoting a game that is accessible by design or has great features that people can use to adapt the experience to their needs. It would be a pity if people who could actually play the game would never hear about it, wouldn't it? Make sure to share information on the accessibility of your game as early as possible. It's important for players with disabilities to know in advance whether they will be able to not only access, but also enjoy your game. Don't make them wait or search for this crucial information, or you will risk losing players. Make it as easy to find as possible. Treat it as a core feature of the product and market it as such. Consider highlighting it at showcases, in social media posts, press releases, and interviews. Ideally, set up a separate page on your website or add an appropriately headlined paragraph to official announcements. Also consider adding this information to every store page. Accessibility is an asset you should market. Not only will you get the attention of players who need accessibility considerations to be able to play, it's also good PR. Accessibility features are, of course, valued by gamers who identify themselves as disabled, but able-bodied players are also increasingly aware that they can benefit from them and may look out for games with such features. Next, let's talk about what to do to make your marketing as accessible as possible. We'll start with some inexpensive, very easy to implement options and end with more challenging and costly ones. First things first, do your best to avoid discriminatory language, which includes ableist words. Don't use terms like lame, crazy, insane, or for example, blind spot. There are so many alternatives because languages around the world, including English, which is most commonly used for games marketing, are rich sources of expression. If possible, reach out for gamers or consultants with disabilities and check in with them if the terms you are using are appropriate. Also watch out for language that may be used with good intentions, but many people with impairments strongly dislike, such as handicapped, differently abled, or special needs. Instead, use the terms disability, impairment, disabled, or person with a disability. When it comes to your social media presence, carefully consider which platforms you want to use to promote your work and why. Ideally, you should be present on several different platforms to reach as large an audience as possible. But put some thought into the following questions. Who is your main target audience? How does each platform work? Does it employ algorithms? Which features does it offer to make your posts more visible? What do you have to do to ensure they stay visible? And perhaps also consider factors such as the political belief system behind the platform. Does it align with yours? If not, should you still support it? And if so, why? This is particularly important if you want to promote diversity and inclusion. Next, limit the usage of emojis in social media posts. While emojis are very common nowadays and may bring the attention of sighted customers to your content, they don't work well with screen readers. To give you a better idea what this means, let's listen to the fake announcement from this slide.
Police car light, police car light, police car light announcement, police car light, police car light, police car light. We're excited to finally announce our new game, video 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 game. It will be available soon. Arrow on all online stores. Please folded hands, folded hands, folded hands. Wish list it already if you can. Thank you. We love you so much. Sparkling heart selected.
Now imagine this would be your average online experience. Not great, right? And speaking of enjoyable online experiences, add alt texts to all images. It's just a bit of additional effort and it makes a big difference for visually impaired users. What to keep in mind when writing alt texts? Try to focus on the most important aspects of each image. Don't describe every little detail because otherwise it will take too long to have these texts read out loud. Ideally, an alt text should not be longer than 1 or 2 sentences. To give you an example, the description of this image could be a photo of a red PlayStation 5 DualSense controller on a white blanket. Depending on the platforms you're using, alt text implementation may be different, so make sure to look up guides, which are often provided by the platforms themselves. When using hashtags, use capital first letters in every word so that people with cognitive disabilities and those using screen readers can understand them better. For example, accessibility matters with the A and the M in capitals instead of accessibility matters. Avoid special display characters because screen readers can't read those properly. In addition, refrain from using stylized fonts because these are much more difficult to read for people with dyslexia, cognitive disabilities, as well as visually impaired and legally blind users. Also, don't overly rely on GIFs, because they can pose significant challenges for some users with disabilities, especially blind users and people with cognitive impairments. If you're using GIFs, add alt text to those as well, and make sure your GIFs don't contain blinking and flashing, because these effects could be triggers for photosensitive epilepsy or just cause overall discomfort. As with all social media posts, you should add alt texts or descriptions below all images on press releases. Make sure to use headlines and use them properly, which means prioritize usefulness over aesthetics. Users with screen readers rely on headlines for navigation, so make sure not to mix things up just because it's more visually appealing to you. For example, having heading 1 followed by heading 4 followed by heading 2 would be very confusing for a blind user with a screen reader. Reach out to content creators and especially to content creators with disabilities and provide them with a review copy of your game. Acknowledge their expertise and, if possible, offer appropriate payment. If they play your game on stream or publish a review, your game will likely get immediate attention from the target group you're trying to address. Remember, high accessibility in games is still relatively uncommon, so you have a good chance to stand out. Also, get in touch with advocacy groups like Able Gamers or the International Game Developers Association Game Accessibility Special Interest Group and tell them about your project, because they might be interested. Take great care of making your website accessible. Screen reader support is vital, which includes adding proper headlines to facilitate navigation, add alt text to all images, and consider using simple language by default, or offer a simple language option for people with cognitive impairments. Listen to and engage with your audience. Take feedback seriously, show appreciation, and consider making changes in future versions if players, and especially players with disabilities, provide detailed feedback. First, this feedback is valuable and you should treat it as such. And second, you'll show your player base that you care about them, and that is particularly important for this specific target group, which has been neglected for too long. If you make mistakes and people highlight them, just own it. Don't desperately try to defend your design decisions unless you have a really, really good reason to. It's much better for your reputation to acknowledge shortcomings and promise to do better in the future. People will notice how you react in these situations. Always add subtitles or better yet captions to your trailers, ideally in different languages. If you don't have the necessary resources, automated subtitles do the trick as well, though you have to be aware that they will likely not be entirely accurate and thus misrepresent parts of your carefully created trailer. When you're sharing audio-only content like podcasts, always provide a transcript or subtitles, or ask the interviewer to do it for you. If you don't have the time and the resources to transcribe the audio and subtitles manually, you can use software to automate the process or upload the files to YouTube and enable auto subtitling, though be mindful that, again, automated subtitles are prone to errors. Audio description is increasingly common, especially for promoting AAA games. It means adding an optional audio track in which the most important visual details are described. Here's an audio described trailer for The Last of Us 2 Remastered as an example. Please note that this trailer cannot be shown in the recording of this talk due to copyright restrictions. Audio description is very challenging to do well and requires a lot of expertise, but fortunately there are contractors offering this service to studios. For example, Descriptive Video Works, a company that has done work for many game companies recently. We asked Jenna, an employee of Descriptive Video Works, to record a statement on video to briefly explain this field she's working in.
Hi, my name's Jenna. I'm a producer for audio description at Descriptive Video Works, specializing in video games. Audio description is just one of several accessibility features which makes a game more accessible to players with low or no vision or to players with cognitive impairments. It is a very vital accessibility feature because it helps translate or interpret the visuals of a story into an auditory means, but it has existed in TV and film for several decades now. Only in the past few years has it started coming to video games. This accessibility feature, like many others, is vital because it creates parity between sighted and blind players. What that means is that we want blind players to have as close an experience as possible to the gameplay of sighted players. Ideally, there should be no difference between the two. But it does take some considerable thought to ensure that that end goal is met. The process of creating audio description requires several professionals who know the rules, norms, and practices. It's important to be socially and culturally sensitive and modern in our language, know when and how to describe certain things that might be sensitive topics, and also how to narrate with the proper tone and delivery, and how to mix the volume levels with the source media. In other words, audio description requires a high level of expertise and isn't something that someone can just pick up and learn on their own without any training, and they shouldn't be expected to. It's important to engage with professionals like me who might be able to advise you on the best practices to ensure that you are following the current rules and adequately interpreting your media for the target audience. I, as a sighted person, am going to have numerous biases when going through a video game, things that I never realized could be a gap or a barrier to someone with low or no vision. If you yourself are not disabled, it is your job as an ally to recognize and call out these potential gaps and barriers in whatever media that might have it. That could be video games, that could be TV shows and movies, And it can also be the tools, materials, and processes that you use to create these accessibility features or these forms of media. What that means is if you're in the business of creating or advocating for accessibility features, ensure that you are incorporating the voices and opinions of the people you're trying to serve into these workflow processes. Hire disabled consultants or employees. Ensure that disabled voices are incorporated into your process. I'll be cheesy here for a moment and throw in a quote from Microsoft, which is, "When everyone can play, we all win." It's important to remember that disabled people are the world's largest minority, and all of us will eventually become disabled if we are lucky enough to live that long. So don't look at accessibility features as something that is distant and far off and not a part of you or impacting you at all, because in reality, all of us already use or are going to need accessibility features either today or someday in the future. These features are for everyone, and they're extremely helpful for those who need them. So next time you're playing a video game or watching a TV show, take a look through the options and see what's available. You might find something that is more helpful than you could have imagined.
We hope this gives you a better idea what inclusive marketing entails or can entail, and what you can do even if you don't have a big marketing budget. Thank you for listening.